everybody, happy holidays. Welcome back to my channel. I see that I have some new subscribers, so welcome my loves. My channel is mostly about books and little happy vlogs here and there, so that's mostly what I do. So this video today is my favorite books of 2023. If I'm looking down, it's because I wrote it down in this book here. My favorite book of January is called Zofloya or The Moor. It's by Charlotte Dacker. Am I pronouncing that right? Dacker. I annotated this book. I don't know if you could see. I would say this is a gothic fiction. This book is about a woman named Victoria, and she's in love with someone, a man. I think this takes place in Italy. And she's in love with a man, and with the help of a servant, she gets what she's been asking for. So the servant is named Zofloya, and he is a Moor. And so reading the book, it takes you on this revelation of who Zofloya is. And Zofloya isn't mentioned in like the beginning of the book. Zofloya is brought to us during like the last part of the book. Reading this book, it's like, who exactly is Zofloya? Is he who he says he is? Because how is he doing these things? I don't want to give away too much of it, but essentially that is what the book is about. It's about a woman who is madly in love with this man, and this man is in love with someone else, but she wants him. And she is willing to do anything to get him. So she goes to, actually Zofloya goes to her and asks her, you know, what is it that you want? And so she tells him, and so the story reveals itself. This is and I still think about this book till this day. This book was written in 1806, so it's going to be read as it is written in 1806. So just letting you know. So the writing style is very 1806. Okay. But yeah, essentially that is what the book is about. Loved it. So what I read in February, I loved Fragments of Horror by Junji Ito-san. I think all of his books. I have all of his books, and I was left speechless when I read this. If you can't tell by now, like, I think you could see one of my shelves here, and I have another shelf as well. But I just love this section of my home because it's so cozy and cute. This is my horror section, and the books are overflowing. I need another shelf. I love horror. I love anything to do with horror. I love paranormal stuff. It's called Fragments of Horror. This book has different stories in it. Some of them are scary. I read this and I will never forget it. So going into this book, like, I saw the front cover, I'm like, oh, is that from that painting? But now that I look at it now, I cannot look at it the same way because of what the story is regarding this picture. Junji Ito, he has a way of just taking your mind, holding it in his hand and laughing at it. Anyway, this story, and with the other stories in this book, if you're not ready to be just terrified, don't read it. you have to have a strong mental state when you're reading books by Junji Ito, okay? Oh my god, just looking at the pictures. So this is a manga. Junji Ito is one of my favorite creators. My best reads of February. So my favorite read is, and I'm going to do a whole video on this because this is one of my favorite books of all time. Besides Perfume, The Story of a Murderer. I love that book. That book as well is going to be in a whole other video of books that I highly recommend. But anyway, for March, I recommend The Monk. Again, this is a gothic romantic fiction, and I don't know what it is, but I just love gothic romances. This book has, I think, 3 other stories in one, but they all, I think 3 or 4 other stories in one, but they all connect into the grand scheme of things concerning the main character, Ambrosio, the monk. But the stories, even though they're separate, they delve into the characters and you see why it all connects back to Ambrosio, the monk. And I think Zofloya or the Moor was inspired by this book. Not sure, but I think so. This is about a monk named Ambrosio and his descent into immorality. And what happens to him at the ending is insane. And I urge you to read this. I recommend you to read this. This is about a well-respected man and his fall from grace. So there's murders, there's, oh my god. Highly recommend, one of my favorite books I have ever read, besides Perfume, The Story of a Murderer, but we ain't gonna get into that. I love that book so much. Yes, The Monk. So for April, okay, I know you're looking for cozy books and stuff. I promise you there are cozy books in here, but I can't help it. I love dark, gritty, gothic, edgy books, okay? I love it. So the next book for my April read is called The Collector. I might have to do a whole other video on this too. The Collector, yeah. This book is about a man who saw a woman, he said I had to have her. It's about a man who collected a woman, okay? And she did not want to be collected. So this book takes on 2 sides of the main characters, the collector, the man, and the woman who is held hostage by him. So you're getting 2 different point of views. This book will have you feeling trapped when you're reading it from her side. And then when you're reading it from his side, you feel like, wait a minute. Like, I had to stop reading this and be like, wait a minute. What he's doing isn't right. Does he have a mental issue? It is dark. I promise you, we're getting into the cozy books, okay? We're moving away from the dark and the gloomy. Hold on, let me look at my other books. We're kind of moving away from the dark and the gloomy. Okay, so my other book for April, I actually like this. It's called The Sisters of Versailles by Sally Christie. How am I gonna explain this? So this book is about the life of King Louis the 15th and his courtiers, the ladies in his life. This book is filled with so much drama. my goodness, I highly recommend it. It is thick. She is a thick one. She is a thickums, okay? But I was reading it and I was just flying past. I was just, because I couldn't put it down. It was so interesting. If you're looking, like, there's part of this book is taking place in the summertime, and you could feel how hot it was. Like, I felt so hot, and these women had to wear these dresses in that time. Like, oh my god, I felt like I was sweating while I was reading this book. So I recommend reading this in the summertime if you want to feel extra hot. I mean, there are like spicy scenes in there. But this book is just filled with drama. So it's about these, I believe it's 5 sisters. I think it's about 5 sisters, and some of them are like vying to be the mistress of King Louis. One of them will do whatever it takes, and it's just drama between the sisters, who's going to be the mistress of the king. And it just, I was reading this book, I was like, oh my god. It was good. It was actually really good, and I have the sequel to it up there. So I think the other one is called The Rivals of Versailles, the second book. So you're seeing like the lavish lifestyle of the French court, and you're seeing how these people, like, they're so stuck up and aristocratic, and how they treat like the rich people from the poor people. So these I think 2 of the sisters, or was it 3 of them, are like trying to get into the good graces of King Louis and like be like the star, like the head woman. So she wants to have like all the pomp and the glory and whatever, right? And so the other sister also wants that type of lifestyle, and that's where the whole drama comes in. So if you're looking for like a period read, I would recommend this book. This was really good. I enjoyed it. It says it's a sumptuous, sensual, and witty portrayal of a group of women never before written about in English. It is a complex exploration of power and sisterhood, of the admiration, competition, and even hatred that can coexist within a family when the stakes are high enough. There's a lot more written on the back, but that's it in a nutshell. It was a good read. It was really nice. My May read, I read Uriel. I would actually read this again. This is not dark. It's not gritty. This book is about the woman with the snakes on her head, the Gorgon. Not Medusa, because that's her sister. This is about a Gorgon. She lives in Rome. She comes to Rome because her lover was afflicted by a curse from the gods, and he is turned to stone. And I believe the gods gave her a riddle to transform him back to being a human. So now she's like she's living her life looking for the answer to the riddle to release her lover from stone. So in this book, you get to experience life in Rome and how she goes about living her life. She always keeps her head covered because she doesn't, want people to be scared or turn to stone when they see her snakes in her head. This was actually a really fun read, and I highly recommend it. The back says it's filled with longing, the strolls through her garden, gazing at the exquisite statue of a man who dared to love her. Yeah, so you get a lot of like descriptions of how her home is in that time, her beautiful garden. I learned a lot of words and terminology back then, which is pretty cool. So I recommend Uriel. Another one that I recommend for me is The Lumens. I love reading this book. I love the TV show, and I have all of the books in the series. It's just like a nostalgic read to me. So this book is called A Comet in Moominland. Um, it's about a comet about to hit Moominland, and the panic that arises in Moominland, the just chaos, people trying to survive from the comet. And if you're reading this in the summertime, it's everything is hot in this. You could feel it, like you could feel the heat emanating from this book. So it's about Moomin going on an adventure to find out a way to stop the comet from hitting Moominland. And yeah, it was a good read. If you love the Moomins, I recommend this one. I haven't finished reading the others, but yeah, if you're looking for that, it's just like I was reading this and it just felt so dark and foreboding. You get that foreboding sense, like, oh my god, what's gonna happen to my favorite characters? I hope they survive. So yeah, that's The Comet in Moominland. For June, it's going to be The Hobbit. I read this in June because I thought it would be like a great like spring summery read, and it was. This book is packed with adventure, and it reads like it's a folklore, which is pretty cool. This book is about a hobbit. A hobbit is like a small person, very short person, who's just minding his business, living his comfy, cozy life until these rapscallions of dwarves, I believe, come in through his door and say, you're going on an adventure with us to get treasure from a dragon. It was very random. If you're looking for a fantasy read where there are dragons and spiders and elves and magic and things like that, I recommend The Hobbit. I recommend this copy of the book so you could see the really beautiful drawings. I actually like the drawings, the artwork, sorry, not the drawings. The artwork in this. This book is by Kenneth Graham. It's called Wind in the Willows. I think this book has inspired a lot of other books. I could be wrong, but this is a book about animals that talk, and they live in the forest. I believe it's about a toad who goes on this wild adventure. He loves cars, and his friends are trying to stop him from getting this car because he cannot control himself. So they lock him up so he isn't a harm to himself. They lock him up in his room, and he escapes and goes against their wishes, and he ends up, I think this book is way more explanatory than the show, the movie. Because in this book, he's in prison. He escapes from prison. He bargains with some other guy to get his horse. Toad is just reckless and an endangerment to everybody around him. So this book is about the animals trying to get Toad and win back Toad Manor from the weasels that took it over because Toad left because he's crazy. It was a fun read. I recommend it. I enjoyed reading it. Poor Toad. Yeah, so that's Wind in the Willows. For July, I read The Princess Bride. I would say read the book instead of watching the movie. I mean, the movie is fun, but the book is funnier. The book is funnier and has a way more going on than the movie. Over 400 pages in here, and I learned so much more that happened in the book than they left out in the movie. I found myself laughing and chuckling and giggling way more than the movie. You learn much more about Princess Buttercup and Wesley and Fezzik. This book was fun, and it was a great summer read too. This book is about a woman named Buttercup, and she has a farmhand, I believe, named Wesley. Wesley loves her, but she doesn't really pick up on it. So he left to go work on a ship, and she realizes that she loves him. The story is about her being taken in by the prince and realizing that she doesn't want to marry him, and Wesley coming in to save her. But there's a lot more that happens in the book. It's like a fantasy adventure comedy. There's a lot of quotes in this book that you could use in any situation. I had fun reading this. I would recommend reading this instead of watching the movie. This was such a funny read. So yeah, that's The Princess Bride. This was my July read. The next book I recommend is called The Cottingley Secret by Hazel Gaynor. If you are looking for an easy read that is about fairies and cottages and the seaside and just very cozy, I recommend The Cottingley Secret. I don't know if you all know about the famous picture of the girl with the fairies that they were trying to debunk is real or not, but this book is a story within a story about that. In a world torn apart by war, Frances Griffiths arrives in Cottingley, England, where her cousin, Elsie Wright, becomes her friend and playmate. But Frances soon discovers other secret friends. When the cousins claim to have photographed real fairies at the bottom of the garden, their parents are skeptical. But then the photos come to the attention of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who declares them a marvel and entirely authentic. The Cottingley fairies and the girls become a national sensation. Afraid to tell the truth, Frances and Elsie will keep their secret for decades. So yeah, this book is about the whole situation with the fairies, about it being real, or if it's not real, could be real. But it was nice. It was such a gentle read, like reading about there's this house in the woods and the river that flows next to it, and the girls will play in the river, and the fairies and things like that. It was a lovely read. I enjoyed reading it. So yeah. So my other July read is, I have the entire set. I just love this so much. It was so fun to read. It's The Babysitter's Club. I read one book, but that one book was fun. So this is the other tin set. I have two because I love this so much. Guys, it's very 90s, very full of the vibes, very, we girls got this, let's babysit these kids. These kids are crazy. But it's just so fun. It's such a fun July read. So I have the set. It's not the entire set. Some of it is missing, which I am very, I don't like that. But it's fine. So the first one is Christie's Great Idea. And this was such a funny read. Guys, please read The Babysitter's Club. If you're not into that, you know, this is a classic. Okay, need a babysitter? Save time. Call The Babysitter's Club. This was fun. I recommend it. It just, these girls, these teenage girls, going about their life while also being part of a little club that they made called the Babysitter's Club. And they have a phone line. If you need your kid babysat, call. We will babysit your kid. And they just tell stories about it. There's some little drama here and there, other little things, you know. It's a slice of life type of read. I recommend it. It's cool, it's fun, puts you in the 90s. I believe that's when it, yeah, it's a lovely read. It's a lovely read, and I recommend it. One of my favorite reads. The ending of the book was kind of funny to me though. My next book for August is called The Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi. Guys, if you have watched the Disney movie, if you have seen any other versions of this book in film or movie, you are not getting the full story. And I highly request you to please read the book. They left out so much. So much happened to Pinocchio. I was reading this and I was like, oh my god, Pinocchio, do you ever learn? What are you doing? Please, Pinocchio, stop. So much happened to him. It reads as a warning to children to do not misbehave, or else X, Y, and Z will happen to you. And my god, if you are Pinocchio in this sense, in this case, you better thank your stars that you have the blue fairy with you, or else you would die. Because that's kind of what happened to Pinocchio in this book many, many times. Other than that, I would still recommend it. Yeah, it was. If you want the true story, read the book. For my September read, is called Foe by Ian Reid. This book is, I think it's a thriller. It's a short novel and it has a lot of twisty plots. It is about a man and his wife who live in the middle of nowhere. And one night a car pulls up in front of the house and everything goes downhill from there. This car pulls up and this man comes out of the car and starts invading their life day by day, or like just gradually invading their life. This one had me at the edge of my seat. It's haunting. It is just like the ending of it. The ending of this book, I was like, oh my god, I didn't even know it was going to end like that. And I recommend it. So they're like living on their farm in the middle of nowhere, kind of like Courage the Cowardly Dog, how Miriam and her husband just live in the middle of nowhere. Think of it like that. I still think about it till this day. It's not a cozy read. It is dark. It's suspense, full of suspense. It's a thriller, and that's all, because I cannot say too much. I feel like if I say too much, I'm gonna give the book away. But one of my favorite reads this year. For September, I recommend the book We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, one of my favorite authors. This book is about a young girl who may or may not have killed her entire family. And they live in this huge home, and the neighbors, the people in the neighborhood, don't like them. They want them out, and they're trying everything to get rid of them. I recommend this book. The way that Shirley Jackson writes is always something underlying, and I know there is so much more to this, but the initial read had me in a state of, did this girl actually kill her entire family? So yeah, that is We Have Always Lived in the Castle. The next book that I enjoyed reading in October is called Scritch Scratch. Scritch Scratch is by Lindsay Curry. It's about a girl whose father is into the whole paranormal scene. He loves hunting for ghosts. He goes on ghost tours. He does ghost tours. And he's just very into the paranormal. But Claire she has no interest in that. She loves everything that has to do with science. So she's all about facts and things like that. One day her dad invites her to come along with him on one of the ghost tours. I believe this is in Chicago. So they go on the ghost tour, and one of the places that she goes to, she leaves the bus and she helps with the tour that her dad asked her to help with. So she's showing the people around and this and that. And then when she goes back on the bus, she realizes that there's an extra person on the bus, on the bus, a young boy who's dripping wet. And so she realizes, and this boy follows her home. So she realizes that this boy could be a ghost. This ghost is following her. She realizes that the boy on the bus who's wet and nobody else sees has followed her home. So she is trying to find out, what does this ghost boy want from her, because he's starting to freak her out. There's a lot of paranormal things that happens in our home that she can see, but other people can't. Like the bathroom flooded, so everywhere was wet. There's water all over the house, and she's trying to clean it up, and her parents come home and they're like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm sorry, everything flooded. And it's like, there's nothing, I don't see anything wet here. So stuff like that. And she has a lot of occurrences like that from the ghost boy. So she's trying to find out, what does he want from her? This was such an atmospheric read, and I would definitely read it again. I enjoyed reading this book. So not as scary as Tales to Keep You Up at Night, but definitely it was a fun read. So yeah, Scritch Scratch. Continuing in October, my favorite read is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I love this book and I would actually read it again. I would, because this is so atmospheric. It's about this boy who grew up in the graveyard from a child into adolescence, I believe. So he basically grew up in the graveyard. So there's a lot of scenes of him enjoying childhood in the graveyard. It's very atmospheric. The fog, the graves, running through the graves, playing with some of the ghosts, talking to some of the ghosts, and also a killer is looking for him. I don't think he knows that until he's, I believe, 10 or so, or 12. And just life in the graveyard, the cemetery. You get to know some of the ghosts. It was such a fun read. I felt like I was actually in the graveyard, in the cemetery. And he has a guardian. His guardian, Silas, a creature of the night, looks over him, takes care of him, his caretaker. So his name is Nobody Owens. He doesn't know anything about the outside world. All he knows about is the graveyard. This is one of the books that I would definitely read again. So yeah, the graveyard book. In October, I read We Need to Do Something. This is not cozy. I'm putting this out there. This book is not cozy. So this family is trapped in their bathroom during a thunderstorm. They are trying to find a way out, and just the chaos of them trapped in that bathroom for God knows how many days or weeks. You know, they're hungry. They are just slowly, like, you can, like, reading this book, you can see them slowly losing their mind. And this is just the whole book summed up. And these people slowly losing their minds, trapped in this small bathroom during a storm. And they're trying to get out. They're putting up with each other. There was one part of this book that terrified me, because they're trapped in the bathroom and they try to, like, push the door open, right? Because the door, there's like a huge tree trunk that is blocking the door from opening. But what they could do is just, like, kind of push the door a little bit. They can't get out. So I think it was during the nighttime. It was dark and they're trying to get out. They're still trying to fight their way out of this cramped bathroom. And the boy, like, the son, it's a family, so it's the mother, the father, the daughter, and the son. 4 of them are trapped in this bathroom, and he puts his hand out, and there's this dog. He thinks it's a dog that's licking his hand. And oh my God, that part just, I was scared. The dog was licking his hand. He was like, yeah, oh my God, there's a dog here. And they're like, are you sure it's a dog? And he's like, yeah, it's furry. I think it was wet because it was raining. I don't know. He was like, yeah, it's furry. You could feel the hair. And how the author describes it terrified me, because we don't know if it was a dog that was licking this boy's hand. Anyway, that's We Need to Do Something. It's about this family, 4 people who are trapped in the bathroom, and they are on the verge of a mental breakdown because they've been in there for so long and they're trying to get out. I recommend this. The next book on my October favorites is Tales to Keep You Up at Night. I'm still going through this book, and as I'm reading it, I'm enjoying it even more. Oh my God. It's just different. It's different stories. All these tales I have never heard before. The tales are so spooky. You know, because there's one part where I was reading one of the stories and I kept having to read it over and over because I'm like, wow, like if that actually happened, that would terrify me. Guys, please read this book, Tales to Keep You Up at Night. I've heard a lot of scary stories in my life, and some of these stories are on that list of terrifying. I think this is a middle grade book. We cannot put off books just because it's for a certain age group, because we're missing out. Okay, we could say Wind in the Willows is for a certain age group, but guys, if you say, okay, no, that's for kids, you're missing out on a great story. You know, we could say the books of Neil Gaiman, like Coraline and The Graveyard Book, is middle grade, but guys, you're missing out on a great story. And this is part of it. Tales to Keep You Up at Night by Dan Pawlowski. My goodness, the collection of stories in here, there are difference to types of scary stories, like you could see it coming. That's like, that doesn't do it for me. But the stories, one of my favorite reads of October. I'm happy I came across this book. That was it for October. Moving on to November. One of my favorite November reads was My Cousin Rachel. This was very atmospheric, very dark, very broody, very what does Rachel want? Is she a gold digger? Is she actually not a gold digger? Is she genuine? I enjoyed reading this. I had a great time reading it. I didn't want to put it down. For December, I'm actually still reading a few books right now because this month has been a bit busy for me. I can't really recommend a lot of books that has that Christmassy atmospheric read to it if you're looking for that, but I will do another video on favorite Christmas book recommendations. So from what I have read that will give you the atmospheric Christmas vibes, or not even like Christmas vibes, just atmospheric, cold and snowy and stuff like that. I did enjoy reading Dracula. I know this is not a holiday book, but besides being like holiday themed or whatever, there's a lot of cold and snow in Dracula. And it's also a really good book. There is a lot of it being winter and cold and snowy and all of that. So it does take place in that type of setting. So if you are looking for like wintry and stuff, Dracula is based in that setting. I recommend Dracula. There are some scary parts to this book. Like Dracula is sometimes a huge bat or like a dark shadow with red eyes. So yeah. So if you are looking for a book that is holiday themed, has to do with snow, it's cold, Christmas is coming, holiday, you know, stuff like that, and also a murder mystery, I recommend Murder in the First Edition. I had fun reading this actually. This book is, I believe her name's Addie, yes, who has two love interests, Mark and Simon. There is a holiday book auction and she puts up one of her books for the auction that's worth like, I believe, $60,000. It's a first edition of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, and she puts it up in the auction, and come to find out the book is missing and the person who is in charge of the auction handling the book is dead, and she came across the body. So it's just filled with a lot of Christmas. It's very Christmassy. First off, there's like a huge snowstorm that happens in this book. So there's a lot of snow, a lot of cider and hot chocolate, and the decorations, stuff like that. It's very nice, very Christmassy. You also get to like find out, figure out about the crime, who sounds suspicious, who could be the killer, who has played a part in this, who's the accomplice. And then you, apart from that, you also have the love interest thing going on, and also just the holiday Christmas spirit. So this was a fun read. It definitely was, and I recommend it if you're looking for just a nice cozy murder mystery. In my previous video, I said that it was my TBR, my December TBR, and I listed a book in there called "'Tis the Season for Revenge." Based on the book, this is just a FYI and also a DNF for now. I got this book because it looks seasonal, right? And I also had it on my TBR, say, I'm gonna read it because it looks like a seasonal read and it looks like just drama. It looks like a funny drama. But guys, I have to say, if you there's no warnings on this anywhere. Not that I saw. The author did not list this as an erotica. So if you're under the age of 18, just keep in mind that this is an erotica. There is foul language. There is very, very descriptive, intimate scenes between a man and a woman. So just FYI, guys, this is an erotica. If you are into that, by all means read it. But I'm trying to keep it PG in here, and I did not know that this book was an erotica because there's nowhere on this that states that. And that's one reason why I bought it, because I'm not trying to be bricked up this season, you understand? I was all getting into this book like, okay, we're gonna put on our jingly hats. We got our spiced coffee. We got our cinnamon and cedar candles. We got the Christmas tree going. Yes, let's have a nice seasonal read. And then I get in there, and then there are very descriptive. First of all, there are typos in this book. Yes, there are typos. There are I don't think the author knows what color Abigail's eyes are. Because in one part of the book she has blue eyes, and she's on the dating app and she put her eyes as blue, like her eyes are blue, and then according to Richard her eyes are green. So I don't know, we understand she's white, okay, but are her eyes blue? Is it green? Is it gold? Is it red? The author's not sure. Okay, so maybe Abigail just has mystical eyes, guys. Abigail is 29 years old and she acts like she's 17. For real, she acts like she's 17. It's just different instances in this book where I'm like, Abby, how old are you, girl? Grow up. Because she goes on a date. She met this man named Damien on a dating app, and it's in November. It's cold, it's freezing, and the author makes it clear that it is cold because that's when the first snow hit. Addie chooses this tight revealing dress to wear, and her arms are out, whatever. She goes on a date, and when it's time to leave the date, Damien, like, they're in coat check, and Damien is like, "Where's your coat? Do you have the ticket for the coat?" And she's like, "What?" And Damien's like, "The ticket. Do you have the ticket so I can get your coat?" And she's like, "Huh?" And Damien's like, "You came here without a coat?" And Abigail is like, "Do you see what I'm wearing? Do I can't wear a coat to hide this cute dress." And I'm like, "Abby, how old are you, girl? Don't do that. Don't make me burn this book." She's 29. Besides that, the airheaded Abigail, and she just met this guy, Damien. This book is giving very 50 Shades of Grey. It's giving very 50 Shades of Grey. She just met the guy. She had a one-night stand with him. And during their sexy time, he's like, "You're mine. You're mine. This body is mine." And she's like, "Yes, Damien." I'm like, "Girl, you just met this guy. What are you doing? You just met him. You just met him. You just met him." She's like, "Yeah, my body is yours." You just met him, Abigail. What are you doing? And he's saying things like, "Who does this body belong to?" Sir, my body belongs to Christ? What are you asking me? Anyway, guys, I DNF'd this for now because did not listen. I'm not in the mood to read erotica. I'm not in the mood to read. I just want to be cozy right now. I just want to be in the holiday spirit right now. I think the author should have. I'm not in the mood to read erotica. That's all I'm saying. And the author should have said something, put up something saying that this is an erotica. They should have. And guys, I apologize because I honestly didn't know. On the back, it doesn't even say anything that it's like that. On the front, it doesn't even say, you open the book, no warning. There's a playlist of songs you can listen to if you want to. There's a note from Morgan that says, "Hey reader, thank you so much for signing up to get a sneak peek of 'Tis the Season for Revenge. Christmas is my favorite time of year, and I thrive off of fun, feel-good Christmas movies and books. I'm so excited to have one of my own. 'Tis the Season for Revenge contains mentions of cheating, verbal, physical, and financial abuse. Please always put yourself first when reading. It's meant to be our happy place. I love you all with my whole being, Morgan Elizabeth." Girl, you could have also put in there, by the time you were saying that this book has cheating, verbal, physical, and financial abuse, you could have said this was an erotica. You could have said that people getting down and had their and stuff like that. You could have said that. There are a lot of like swear words and stuff. You could have put that in there. Like, what if someone who's younger, like an adolescent or whatever, is reading this book and then they get to that point? You Morgan. Anyway, I DNF'd it. There are a few other books that I'm reading this month. Tis the Season for Revenge just threw me all the way off, girl. Yes, I hope you got some recommendations from my favorites. I have a few other videos, I think 1 or 2 more videos coming out this month, so please look out for that. And to my new subscribers, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. And I thank you and I welcome you to my channel. I'm going to, as I keep making videos, I am new to this, I am going to keep learning. Maybe one day I'll get a better camera. I'm using my phone right now, so if it looks kind of, it's because of my phone. You gotta start somewhere. If you made it this way throughout the video, thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and I hope that your holidays, your days so far are lovely and cozy and filled with the holiday spirit. I have a tree here. I thought it would be super cute. So thank you for spending time with me today. I hope you found a favorite book in my favorite books of 2023. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video.